Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and welcome to the second decade of Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson. Here are my buddies Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And yeah, I said it.
I'm gonna ask,
we're officially starting the second decade.
I get that. I'm going to ask you guys, how long were the plagues?
Wait.
Because I think
we're talking about the biblical or the
listen, we can go biblical, we can go real. I don't whatever. However it was set up.
Well, there were 10 plagues.
All right.
So
God, we got to do this for 100 years?
Yeah.
The real trick is rose hips.
Right.
Rose hips. They have lots of vitamin C in them.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know that.
I need to download myself into an AI robot.
And if you missed last week's episode, we did an extended, I would definitely recommend listening to it. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary of Geek Tank Radio, and we're still firing on all cylinders, I like to think.
I got some really good feedback on that.
Okay, good.
And then I got some really good criticisms as well, but it all leads to the same thing. People want us to do more of those extended things.
Well, let's do them. Let's bring the random roundup back. I insist that we do.
I mean, we can bring back the random roundup, or we can just deep dive into some of these subjects we just barely get to touch on the show.
Okay, I've got our list here, but Max, your mic's on. Did you have something to say?
No, I didn't. I just forgot to turn it on.
Oh, okay. I always try to give him the floor when he has something to say. Well, Brandon, once again, I know you're not totally up to date on Daredevil, and Allan, I can't remember. You don't seem as gung ho about Daredevil Born Again over on Disney Plus. Did you see the last episode Tuesday?
I have not watched the last episode. My opinion has not changed. I am waiting to see. I'm waiting to see if any of these shows actually garner any respect.
Well, it's got to play. It's funny.
I'm watching the acting jobs. Well, you're all excited. Andor's coming out.
Yes.
And I've been watching a few other just miscellaneous shows here and there. And I got to tell you, compared to normally who wins an Emmy or, gets an award for acting in a TV series, I got to tell you, when you start watching, Fisk, and you don't even think of the actor's name, you're watching Fisk. It's Vincent D'Onofrio, who has played a wide variety of characters over the decades. But honestly, when you're watching the show, I'm not seeing Edgar from MIB. I'm not seeing the slightly awkward detective. I'm watching Fisk.
My beef has
I'm curious if the respect to somebody like Andor or somebody like Daredevil is going to come for some of the acting that we're seeing, because I got news for you. Some of these casts are really delivering.
Well, that's what. So, Brandon, my beef with Daredevil so far, most of it I like.
Right.
It's just that you can tell. You see the fingerprints where it's like, okay, this should have been a 30-second exchange here, and they turn it into a 3 to 4 minute exchange, and they're just padding the runtime, and it's just like that stuff bugs me when it's really obvious.
It's the thing that killed comics for me.
Yeah,
it's the same situation where a story that could be wrapped up in maybe 2 issues, they have to extend it to the 6 so they can sell the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know it's not commonplace for Disney to sell, Blu-rays or any kind of physical media of their Disney Plus shows. But sometimes that feels like what they're going for, is that we have to have enough to pad out so that we've got a full, season to sell for, like $60, as opposed to the one Blu-ray that's going to cost you $18 for the 2.5-hour movie that the whole season could have been.
Yeah, that stuff takes me right out of the show. I'd rather have a tight 25-minute episode than a 42-minute episode that's full of extra fluff that we don't need. So.
My question is why does the series need to have a specified length? Like, for example, not even in terms of runtime of the number of episodes, but also the runtimes in terms of the episodes themselves. Like, one of my favorite series of all time is a one-off miniseries called Over the Garden Wall, and it's like 10-minute. It's like 12 episodes. It's like 10 episodes, about 10 to 12 minutes apiece. It drops the mic and it just gets out.
Boom.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain this to you in as close to simple terms as I can, but it might get a little complicated. Let's say that you are going to do a show, and technically you've only got enough, story to, maybe span 3 episodes. But you need this amazing set piece, or you need this specific, type of digital effect. In order to warrant the pricing, you have to go in with the whole thing that nobody's going to spend the money to build this big set piece unless you're going 10 to 12 episodes, and you'll be able to use it the whole time. The same with the digital effects. They are not going to bring in a superb effects house to do effects on 2 episodes for the price it's going to cost. Just to contract them and take them away from another job, you have to make it worthwhile. And so you end up having to pad things, and it sucks that you have to do it, because you're right, Max. Some of these shows that we watch, that they could get their point across in 10 to 15 minutes per episode, 8 episodes, knocked it all out.
I mean, Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit, and I believe that. So, I mean,
Well, and don't forget, you also have contractual padding.
there you go.
AKA, actor A is guaranteed X amount of screen time per episode.
Isn't that so? I bet you anything that that's what
don't
that's all
forget,
about.
there's all kinds of places where of different input and different requirements bring us, let's just say, slightly overstuffed episodes.
I would completely agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that we were constantly hearing about how Disney shortchanges their actors.
Oh, really? So
Yeah, we
they
hear enough
promise
about
them
it.
one
That too.
thing.
Yeah.
But you got to allow editorial freedom. I mean, if something doesn't work, you got to cut it. You got to murder your darlings,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like
they did that with an entire season almost of Daredevil Born Again to redo it as Daredevil Born Again.
Wait, I don't get that.
All right, so most of what you're seeing is reshot footage, because the initial Daredevil season for Born Again was completely scrapped because it tested badly.
Oh, interesting. So
This is
okay.
what tested better amongst more larger audiences.
Oh, so we're seeing the results of they leave some of the stuff in and then they get rid of. Okay.
Like, as much as Brave New World is a really fun movie, you can see the reshoots.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to continue to unpack this when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Put the disintegrator down and step away from the radio. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And just to kind of wrap up, we were kicking off the show talking about Daredevil, Born Again, the Disney Plus series, which to me, it's interesting because there's about 50 loose ends out there that they sort of teased. I'm starting to lose a little bit of faith in the series, only because some episodes are really good. They feel just like the old Netflix series, and then some you're just like, okay, this could have been a 20-minute episode, and they milked it for, they padded the runtime and everything. But I hope it's going to turn out okay. But
What this makes me think of is the fundamental flaw of making art by committee.
boom, there you go. How often have we seen it? Because, I mean, filmmaking is collaborative, but when the top, I don't know, there seems like there's a lot of artificial things that get thrown in that just, I mean, a contract that says you have to be on screen this many minutes, to me, that's, I mean.
Or renting out tech for a specific amount of time, stuff like that. But it's like, that's kind of like committee rooting the story, because like now the screenwriter has to murder their darlings to compensate for all these like edits and stuff.
Well, you said they shot it.
Except for the fact that they're shooting it based on the story that's been brought to him. Kevin Feige has always been good about, as long as the narrative fits the overall plan, he lets the writers do what they want.
Okay.
The writers get to a certain point, then they do, and they film, then they do the test screenings, and then when people go, this is ridiculous, why would you do this? Then they go back and they cut it because they want to make sure it's most profitable. That's what you're gonna have to get over any of this. Well, projects by committee, because there's no such thing as a singular project anymore, except for horror movies based on our public domain children's characters.
All right, I got a really naive question. I'm looking at both of you guys because I really don't know the answer to this.
No, there's nothing too naive.
Here's my naive question. Okay, we've seen a strong run of like some of my favorite movies are Pixar movies, like
Right.
Cars. I think is a legitimate masterpiece. Inside Out. There's been any number of successful Pixar movies, and it seems to me that the effort is to put in really, really clever writing. And my understanding is before they start doing the animation is they storyboard the entire thing.
Right.
And then they read it out, and they're looking at the script, and they're acting it out cheaply by doing the storyboard first. Well, why isn't every film or TV show made that way? Before you build this big set and you shoot everything, and then you send it to a test audience, and they hate it, and you redo it, that sounds really expensive.
Let me let you in on a little secret here, Joe.
Yeah.
All these things that go to a test audience that the audience then goes, this is bad, and then goes back to board. The reason they call it back to board is because it was storyboarded, it was table read, it goes through all those same things, and then they film it. But the thing is they are making the art that has been written in front of them. The artists themselves don't always connect with the audience. And when they send something out to test screen and it doesn't test well with the audience, you've already put in all this money into something that you really can't just turn around and go, well, we're just going to put it out there and let it fail. They're going to try and finish it because of the fact that studios have given them this much for reshoots that they can try and fix what the audience didn't like.
I'm convinced the three of us could make a lot. I'm convinced that the three of us could tell a good story that would compel audiences, and we're just three average geeks. But I'm sorry, I would rather have instead of these so-called experts.
I will go ahead and say that you may be able to tell a good story. We may be able to do it, but it's about connecting with the audience. We can make our target audience are the same people who are listening to this show. That is not going to make a movie successful.
I don't know. We're not living on high in these towers, looking down on everybody.
Most of the people
we're
working
street level.
Most of the people writing your movies aren't either.
Okay, I don't know. I'm amazed that we can get bad content. I'm kind
of reminded of something that's sort of maybe a brief aside, but like all this stuff makes me think of how the unnecessary sequels and remakes and everything. It makes me think though, if you harness a remake in the right medium, it could be done well. Like we sing the praises of theater all the time. Like I saw a Broadway remake of Beauty and the Beast at Theater Memphis recently, and it did really good because the theater as a medium is very effective, and it doesn't feel like, oh great, another reboot of fill in the blank. It's like, oh, this is very fresh, this is very novel. So what is it about something like live theater that lends itself to remakes being accepted rather than rejected?
Wait, so you're saying the medium is the problem in some of these
situations?
Can
be the problem.
I think you triggered Allan. Okay. It might be. Maybe you're onto something.
Well, let's go back in time and talk about the Marx Brothers.
I don't want to.
Yeah, but we're gonna. Because the Marx Brothers put out a couple of really good movies and then stank. And nobody could figure out why. And the reason why they were terrible was they didn't test out the material in their live shows first. So
they were stage actors, right?
So
performers.
They were comedians, performers, vaudeville, the whole era. But for their next movie, and I think it was Duck Soup, they took the Marx Brothers show, took it out on the road, and after a few months, they had refined it down to what the audience was responding to, and here's the key word, at that time. Because something that was a hot idea 2 years ago may fall completely flat today. And we've seen in a lot of productions, something that fell flat today may be great 2-3 years from now.
I think you've heard me say it enough times. Black Adam is the greatest superhero movie of 2008. Because
2008.
I'm really not going to argue that with you.
When you look at
I thought it came out like 5 years ago.
It did, Joe. What I'm saying is that it's dated material.
I see what you're saying. So it would have been great.
And right now I'm going to get blasted for this, but I don't care. You guys, I love y'all who listen to us, but it's true. The ADHD of the typical audience nowadays, if you do not stay up to date, like to the T, you're not going to connect with your audiences. If I wrote a script today, in the amount of time it would take to make it into a movie, by the time it comes out, it's going to be at least 2030.
I see what you're saying. And like if
The
you see a
same
movie
st- the
today
same
with a
st-
flip phone
right.
on it,
The
you're
same
like,
stuff.
wow.
The same
that's
stuff doesn't connect. Now that's not to say that my failure flop of a movie that comes out in 2030 won't have an audience in 2036.
Okay. Well, we're going to, okay. We've got a lot more to discuss when we come back
And
here
not enough time.
in Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Please, you give me too little credit.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my buddies Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking, well, I started to complain about Daredevil, Born Again, I think it's episode 8, where I just feel like it's a little bit of loose writing where they pad the runtime. There's some of those failures of modern storytelling, which has evolved into us talking about the Marx Brothers somehow and other things like that. But one successful project that's in theaters now, Brandon, which I know nothing about because I don't know about Minecraft, the video game, but apparently I've seen, Jason Momoa in his pink jacket or whatever that is. But what this movie's apparently doing very well, right?
It is, it is making an obscene amount of money right now. And it has no reason to other than the meme.
There's one scene.
It's all about the memeing.
Yes. I don't get what you mean by that because I know nothing about Minecraft or even this movie.
And a good chunk of the people going and consistently giving their dollars over and over again to it don't know anything about Minecraft either.
Is this another instance where it's like, all right, Minecraft has been around for a long time, and then they made the Borderlands movie that's been around for a long time and it's dead, and they made it now? Is it another instance of, this would have been a good movie back in 2008?
Yeah, but that movie bombed, right?
No, Borderlands bombed so hard. Borderlands is a travesty. But the movie itself is a travesty, too.
Or like the Ugly Dolls movie. Like, I grew up with Ugly Dolls. Haven't heard about them until the recent Ugly Dolls movie a few years back.
Yeah, they never went away, Max.
Okay.
They're you just outgrew them.
Okay, well, let's look at Minecraft. Minecraft
I don't want to.
is one of those bizarre games that caught on because, A, it's fairly simple. B, you can pretty much do what you want. And zombies come along and eat whatever you build.
Creepers.
Is it a kid-friendly game or is this?
It actually really is.
It's a game with an opponent. You got to do stuff or the thingies are going to show up and eat your village.
Cow goes in the hole.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So here we go. Now we're going to go make a movie out of this. And the last movie they made out of a fairly pointless video game that leaps to mind is Rampage.
Oh, I didn't know.
Where you had three kaiju. You had a monkey, a wolf, and a
lizard.
Crocodile? An alligator,
no,
lizard.
Lizzie was literally a lizard.
Lizard. You had some kind of reptile.
Yeah.
And, basically go eat Tokyo. Basically.
Not just Tokyo.
Chicago,
You got to
Detroit.
do a world tour. It's like they would give you buildings. They'd tell you where your map was in the world, and then you broke everything.
And
you ate the poor girl who was taking a shower in the window, and
Yeah. So welcome to Rampage. Rampage turned out to be
You love that movie.
it's entertaining. It's entertaining because it was a lot of kaiju, and it was kind of about the kaiju, but it was
about
some swarmy people loose in it.
It was all about the relationship between a man and his monkey.
It was.
His giant, psychotic monkey.
That told dirty jokes.
Right.
So here we are. So now
you're walking in there with you lowered your intellect and you did everything. You weren't going in there with huge expectations.
Nobody was expecting to win an Oscar in this movie.
Right.
Not the monkey, not the guy, not the other name brand actors that you went, you needed a paycheck, huh?
Yeah.
But everybody delivered and everybody was kind of in on it.
You got people like, Dwayne Johnson and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I mean, these guys aren't hurting for work.
No.
They're just doing it because,
Why
this looks
not?
like fun and I'm going to get paid to do it.
Yeah, I get a giant monkey. What do you want? So here we got Minecraft, and we got Jack Black running around being...
Steve. He's Steve.
He's kind of become the next Jeff Goldblum. It's how much Jack Black do you want?
Yeah.
Choose your level. Between 1 and 10, how much Jack Black do you want in your movie?
Okay.
And that's what you're going to get. It's like a Jeff Goldblum school. Do you want all 10 levels of the Jeff Goldblum, or do you want an 8?
Yeah, but even at his most rambunctious, Jeff's subdued.
Yes.
You only need a 2 for Jack equal an 8 on Jeff.
Yes, but it's a Jack Black scale. I need 4. I need 4 out of 10 Jack Black.
And what's bad is you
turn
also
loose.
have to take into account that Momoa's a nut.
Well, you also get the same, again, how much Momoa do you want in the movie? And whatever they selected didn't work. This movie is an absolute train wreck, except for one scene.
Chicken jockeys.
Chicken jockeys. Who knew? Who knew? You could make the world's worst movie.
I have no idea.
All right,
what,
so there's
okay.
there's a little Frankenstein creature riding a chicken.
There's a baby zombie riding a chicken.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's the thing. When you set the bar really low, and then you
and
put
that's what it
two
is.
likable actors in there, that's enough.
And that's it. That's the thing is you've got the meme ability of the chicken.
It is. It's memeability.
So you've got the internet in a tizzy, and they're at the movie theater throwing popcorn, causing trouble. Cinemas are upset about this movie because of the damage being done in there from the people just going wild.
Oh, it's interactive, like
It's not supposed to be.
Oh,
It wasn't intended to be, but yes.
Are kids going to this?
Yes.
Well, that's why it's successful,
And
right?
I mean,
you can grab the
it's
kids.
an excuse to go crazy when he says chicken jockeys, and everybody in the theater goes crazy.
Social media,
That's like the drinking
Our
game
social
version.
media director for MCFC went with a group of her friends, and she said, "I lost brain cells. This was horrible."
Yeah, but sometimes that's fun.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, it is a hit, and it's entertaining, and they are going to make the grandest mistake they can possibly make
And make
a sequel.
because the lightning
in a
was
bottle.
in the bottle. It was a chicken jockey. Now, 8 more chicken jockeys in movie number 2 are not going to get the job done.
Makes me think of Despicable Me with the Minions. It's like, all right, we like the Minions in the first. We don't need more.
Right. And maybe, I wonder if
You're
this
absolutely
movie...
wrong. There's no such thing as too many minions, but Minecraft 2 will be Joker Folie à Deux all over again.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, just leave it
Minecraft
alone.
Ado.
Minecraft Ado.
They could get Lady Gaga to do it too.
Is it also because Borderlands had a lot of respectable, seasoned actors, and this one are just 2 guys having fun, basically?
No. I don't know where you get this idea that Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and
I didn't know Kevin Hart was in this movie.
No,
I don't know
I'm
anything
talking about
this movie.
Borderlands.
Oh, okay. All right, whatever.
Kate
Okay.
Blanchett, good Lord, heaven help her.
Yeah.
All right, we'll continue when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Drop the robot.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And just a little PSA, when we get out of here today, like immediately as soon as we get out of here, I'm heading over to Neil's for Star Trek Day's 10th anniversary. We have Star Trek Day here in Memphis, which, we're partially responsible for, so I feel like I have to help.
I'll be joining you over there sometime between 10 and 11.
Okay, yeah, but it's going to be cool. They're doing, among other things, so it's over at Neil's. There'll be good food. They're going to have a custom Trek menu. Our buddy Weasel is going to be set up with Star Trek collectibles, and we've got 3 artists coming in.
Right. And you got to tell them the exciting part, though.
Well, I will, but hold on. I want to give everybody their plugs. We have Katie Jones, Sean Howe, and Matt Bowers, local artists coming in. You can get artwork, you can get great collectibles, you can have good Star Trek food, and we're going to Skype in. Well, I guess we're technically doing it through Zoom. We're going to be Zooming with Jonathan Frakes, #1, and Armin, from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
We're getting Riker and Quark.
I mean, that's pretty big. And then Armin Shimmerman, who plays Quark. And then we've got other Skypes too, and that we're doing. But those are the let's face it, those are the ones that are going to be pretty exciting, and it's free. It's a fun event, and we definitely recommend it. But literally, when you're done listening to this, it starts at 11 o'clock and it goes till 5 o'clock. So And I mean, we were there. We've been to every Star Trek day. We were there for the first one over at
I almost won the trivia contest.
back at what was it? It was Davis Kid Books still at the time when we crammed into that little restaurant area, and it's expanded since then. But it's a lot of fun, and we're literally the only, I think, county in the world, maybe in the world, but definitely in the United States that has an officially sanctioned Star Trek Day that is written into law. It is. I mean, it's part of the April 9th is Star Trek Day here in Memphis, and we always celebrate the closest weekend to it. So, but I didn't prepare you guys for this. I just want your hot take on something, if you don't mind. I mentioned, I don't know, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago.
Giving opinions, that might cost you.
Well, I gave up watching YouTube for Lent. Like, sometimes you do you make a little sacrifice during Lent. Right. And I got to tell you, man, and the only caveat was if I needed to research something, I could look at a YouTube video.
Yeah.
This has been the easiest Lent challenge I've ever had. Yeah, honestly, I'm not even missing it. And now I'm wondering, what can I replace YouTube with? Because, I've been reading books. Have
you been reading books or have you been listening to books?
No, both. But still, I'm just so why did I spend so much time on YouTube? And maybe what's some good replacement options, I guess.
It's a time killer. That's literally all it is. It can be replaced with everything from learning, a new way to tie your shoes to, breathing exercises.
Learn an instrument.
But I spent a lot of time on YouTube. Well, I didn't spend a lot. I don't watch TV except for maybe the last 2 hours of the night just to kind of unwind. But it was almost always YouTube, and now I don't.
Which is actually a bad thing because YouTube will stimulate your brain to the point where you won't sleep right.
Well, maybe that's part of it too.
They tell you to that you need to get away from screen time at least 30 to 45 minutes before you go to bed.
Like blue light exposure?
Right.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Just stimulating entertainment in general. That's why, it's better to read a book before you go to bed or, something along those lines. And don't do it on a Kindle, do it on an actual book.
Yeah. Well, I've been reading actual books, so.
Well, keep in mind, YouTube is basically short attention span theater.
Yeah.
Click, all right, and click. And click and click, and so that you can basically, you're the terrible child at the buffet with a spoon.
Oh.
You're just running from dish to dish.
It's I actually do use YouTube to go to bed, but that's because there are meditative music things that'll help. That helps relax your brain.
Yeah,
and it's sometimes easier to go to YouTube and just click on the playlist I have prepped, as opposed to looking at any of the stuff and putting it on. Otherwise, because I'll sit there and I have a problem with choosing when I have way too much content to choose from.
That's my problem. You got 80 billion videos. How do you pick which one you want?
It kind of becomes just like junk food. It's like, why did I spend my time consuming this when I could have consumed something meaningful?
That's what I'm thinking about too. And I heard somebody recently. She was saying that we no longer allow any boredom in our life. Like if we have downtime, we fill it with an audiobook or we fill it with something, and maybe there's times where you just don't need to do anything and just let your brain run a little bit. So,
on the flip side of that, we have an amazing playlist of 10 plus years of us yakking.
Well, there you go.
That makes wonderful background noise. So if you're at work and you want to hear people doing something in the background, our new listeners in Italy are probably listening to us while they're busy at doing something else, because it can be a lengthy background sound.
Well, and you can do other things while you're listening, too.
Yeah, you don't have to watch us. You can just listen to us.
I wanted to circle back to your discussion of allowing tedium and allowing idleness in your life. It kind of makes me think of this whole quote of carefree timelessness. Like, we need to bring more carefree timelessness into our life. And there's a Buddhist monk who actually wrote a book called Essays in Idleness, where it's literally him just musing about stuff when he had the free time to do it. And so it's like we can get the most it's kind of like harnessing the power of, like, artists harness the raw power of their energy of, like, whether it's like really negative, but why don't you just harness the energy of the power from, like, just everyday mundane moments? That's when you can have the most enlightenment, I guess.
I think that's true. How do you ponder things if you're never pondering, because you're always just being stimulated? You have some media on or some So I don't know. I'm just saying I haven't missed YouTube.
You know what I
all.
got from that entire conversation just there, Alan? Max and Joe don't know how to multitask.
Well,
Max.
how do you think creatively while you're watching something that
Max
you're fully
Max is
engaged
actually
in?
absolutely right, because sometimes you just gotta power down and relax.
Go for a walk.
You have to just be.
Go sit among the trees.
I love sitting on a bench, out in nature. Nature hates me, and I regret it later. But there's something about it that just everything goes quiet.
Well, Joe asked me on another show about fishing.
Yeah.
And, going fishing, the fish is kind of the secondary reason you're out there.
Right.
No, you're turning your brain off. So everybody, after this, turn your brain off for a while, but be sure to join us next week. But
No, come see us at the Star Trek thing.
And see us at Star Trek Day over at Neil's on Quince Avenue. But we got to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
All right, Joe, you need to leave the room.